Every one of us faces giants. Sometimes they come as fear, sometimes as doubt, and often as challenges too overwhelming to fight on our own. Giants are those problems that make us feel small, powerless, and unprepared. The story of David and Goliath is not just about an ancient battle. It is a story for us today, about faith overcoming fear, about courage in the face of ridicule, and about God's power working through those the world considers weak. Goliath, the Philistine warrior, towered above everyone. Day after day, he mocked the armies of Israel, daring anyone to fight him. His voice thundered, his armor gleamed, and the entire army of Israel trembled. But into this terrifying scene walks David, a young shepherd, not even a soldier, overlooked by his own brothers, underestimated by King Saul, and mocked by the enemy, yet chosen by God for this very moment. David was not trained for battle. He had spent his life watching over sheep in the quiet fields. But while he was protecting his flock, God was preparing him. When lions came, David fought them off. When bears attacked, David struck them down. What looked like ordinary days of shepherding were actually days of training for a much greater fight. When David arrived at the battlefield to deliver food to his brothers, he heard Goliath's mocking words. Everyone else saw a giant too big to defeat. But David saw something else, a God too great to be mocked. While Saul's trained soldiers cowered, David's faith rose. He remembered every time God had rescued him before and declared with confidence, "The Lord who delivered me from the lion and the bear will deliver me from this Philistine." Saul tried to dress David in heavy armor, but it weighed him down. David took it off, saying, "I cannot go in these." Instead, he chose 5 smooth stones from a stream and carried only his sling, the same tool he had used as a shepherd. When Goliath saw David, he laughed in scorn. "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" he thundered. To everyone else, David looked foolish and unprepared. But David looked straight at the giant and declared, "You come against me with sword, spear, and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty. The battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands." In that moment, David ran toward the battlefield, swung his sling, and released a single stone. It flew through the air with precision and struck Goliath on the forehead. The mighty warrior stumbled, fell forward, and collapsed to the ground. Silence filled the valley. The Philistines gasped. The Israelites stared in shock. The giant who had terrorized them for 40 days lay defeated by a shepherd boy's faith and a single stone. David had no sword of his own, so he took Goliath's sword and used it to finish the battle. What seemed impossible became possible, because David trusted not in himself, but in the God who fights for his people. The story of David and Goliath is more than history. It is a mirror for our lives. We all face giants. For some, it may be fear of the future. For others, it's financial struggles, broken relationships, or inner battles of anxiety and doubt. These giants look intimidating, loud, and impossible to overcome. But David's story teaches us this: giants fall not by human strength, but by God's power. Faith, even as small as a stone, is greater than the biggest enemy. David didn't wait until he felt strong or prepared. He stepped forward with the little he had, trusting God to do the rest, and God showed his glory through David's faith. David's victory reminds us of 2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. When fear tells you you're not enough, remember David's words, "The battle is the Lord's." When life feels overwhelming, know this: the same God who gave David victory will give you strength today. So whatever your giant may be, face it with faith, because in Christ, victory is already yours. If this story encouraged you, share it with someone facing their own giant. Subscribe for more Bible stories and lessons of faith. And always remember, No matter the size of your battle, God is greater.